The January 6th committee held what's probably the last hearing yesterday. And the one thing we didn't expect out of that was a reminder that Nancy Pelosi is a badass. Welcome to MOMocrats Chat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Aliza Worthington and Karoli of cricksandliars.com. And, a lot of what they did yesterday was kind of putting all the pieces together, and tracing the whole origin of the insurrection to Donald Trump. Yeah. And the only really new things was information about what the Secret Service and the FBI knew ahead of time, which I think is, completely scandalous.
Agreed.
And then we got this footage that Alexandra Pelosi took.
More new footage.
This footage was incredible. What was going on when they were in their secure room? And what we saw was Nancy Pelosi taking on the duties of the president, trying to get the military, the National Guard, anybody out there to stop the insurrection because the president would not.
Right.
Didn't wanna.
And she was badass. I mean, she was like...
Her Baltimore came out, man. People on Twitter were using her full government name, her full... from Baltimore, Maryland. She just, you don't mess with her.
No.
And she was standing, it was astonishing to me. She's standing there and Jim Clyburn standing there at the table with her. And she's just standing there and she's describing what's happening in this quiet voice. And then she looks at Jim Clyburn and she's like, do you believe this? Do you believe this? And she's looking over, do you believe this?
Well,
she's talking about a toddler who's throwing a tantrum. Yeah. Her inner calm and her inner strength is so mammoth that I was just like, this woman is a goddess.
I thought someone on Twitter point out that Nancy Pelosi had 5 children in 7 years.
Right.
And this is why she's able to herd all those cats,
It is. It's certainly part of it. But I mean,
and I got to give Chuck Schumer some props too, because he was right there with her.
And so he was emotional.
There was a new clip.
Very emotional when he was talking to who was he talking to? The Attorney General or the deputy? Who was he talking to? And he said,
It was the acting Attorney General, Jeffrey
Acting
Rosen.
Attorney General, use your power as your law enforcement powers. You have this power, use them.
Well,
technically, Pelosi didn't have the power to call up the National Guard.
Despite what the right keeps saying. I mean, what the hell? I saw one of those idiot congresswomen, I can't remember if it's Boebert or Green, saying that Trump called the National Guard and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let them come. And then like, what?
That's just that's just
Lisa's standing right next to her while she's saying that. And he goes off later and says she refused to allow the National Guard.
Yes.
He was denied 14 times.
Gaslighting 101. I mean, I don't think you can call it anything other than that. And there's another moment that they didn't show yesterday, but I saw on Nicole Wallace's show today where Chuck Schumer just really went off on Rosen. And it was like, you get this
Rosen,
done. Yeah. Answer my question. Answer it now. Have you called the president? Have you told him to call off these people? And he wouldn't, he was hemming and hawing and he wouldn't get around it. And Schumer was pissed. And I wouldn't want to be around that either. I mean, they were both being kind of
I missed that. That was on Nicole Wallace today?
Yeah.
Yeah. CNN had they said it was the whole tape.
So does MSNBC.
But now MSNBC got it.
Yeah.
I would like to watch that. What is it, 40 minutes worth of footage total or something that Alexandra Pelosi had?
Yeah, I was hoping to see the bit where Pelosi finds out Trump wants to come to Congress, and she goes, "Well, I hope he does. I'm going to punch him in the face."
Punch him in the
We've
face.
got that
He'll
clip.
go to jail happy, you
Yeah.
know.
We've got that clip on the site because
I'm
that's
sure you
just
do,
her
yeah.
being badass.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no
But
other
you know
word
what?
for
I'm
it.
gonna punch him in the face.
And I'm going to go to jail, and it's okay. I'll be happy.
And I'll be happy.
I know, and didn't at that moment, didn't every one of us that were watching that go, "Yes, Nancy, punch him in the face, punch him for me."
And does anybody doubt that a punch from Nancy Pelosi would level Donald Trump in in a fraction of a second because he's such a fucking
pussy?
First one, Aliza.
Oh, I got the first one because I said the F word, but then of course
That's right. And I filled it in for you.
Karoli says pussy and she doesn't get a ding.
Oh, I'll put my dime in the swear jar.
I'll put my dime in too. What are we, 6 minutes in? Okay, we're 6 minutes in.
Yeah. I mean, the really disturbing thing was the information that they got from all that document dump from the Secret Service.
Yeah.
Showing that the FBI knew of the threats, that people were planning on killing people, that, they knew about it.
10 days before.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when Black Lives Matter had their demonstrations, it was just full of National Guard and military and,
Oh, of course.
but a bunch of white supremacists is coming to overrun the Capitol.
Armed white supremacists.
Armed.
So
the Black Lives Matter protests were during the day, and they were unarmed, and they were predominantly peaceful.
Yeah,
they were just
mad.
There
were some destruction, but here's the difference, and I don't believe that.
Some of that destruction was literally right-wing sabatage.
Right.
Some of it was. We know that too. But the point is, even if there was destruction by Black Lives Matter people, that wasn't right-wing sabotage. None of that was intended to overthrow the government.
Exactly.
None of it. None of it was
an important point.
And the thing is, what got driven home yesterday was that honestly, that Donald Trump actually wanted people to be killed, so that he could then invoke the Insurrection Act and stay in office. I mean, that's what he wanted to. That overall was the plan, and that was what they showed yesterday.
And that plan was in place since the election.
Since before the election. That was the other thing, was that, I don't know about you, but the fact that all of this denial and accusations of fraud was already set in stone on October 31st,
July.
Which was
July.
Yeah, right. But I mean, by October 31st, they were talking about it publicly.
Yeah, Tom Fitton telling him what to say.
Yeah.
Tom Fitton, who's still advising him on the Mar-a-Lago documents.
Advising him. He's not a lawyer. He's an English
I was going to say, has he passed the bar anywhere? What is Tom
He
Fitton?
runs Judicial Watch.
Right. And he's only slightly less wingnutty than the guy that started Judicial Watch. Larry, what's his name?
It's a wingnut organization. It's
Yeah, it is. But it's and the thing you have to remember, the thing that the through line that kept coming back to me was Tom Fitton. All of these people are like, Ginny Thomas is in the center. Here's Steve Bannon. Here's Tom Fitton. Here's, all these people that are satellites.
Stone, Michael Flynn.
All of them. Ali Alexander.
Yeah. Ali Alexander.
Yeah.
Did he? I can't remember. Did he testify?
No.
Did he get called?
No, he did testify, but it was like an interview, and knowing Ali Alexander, he offered absolutely nothing. I'm sure.
I was just wondering if I couldn't remember in the parade of witnesses.
Yeah, parade of awfuls.
Parade of deplorables.
Those things she was right about, like she was right about everything else.
About everything.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I have to start drinking early too. Now that we're talking about
it. Ain't early to me. 5:25 where I am.
But the thing that I kept thinking of watching that and listening to the reasoning of the right-wing people who were planning it was that they truly expected that there would be counter protests from the left, and that would make it more likely that Trump would have to invoke the
Insurrection Act.
Insurrection
Yeah.
Act.
And that was our best move.
Seeing on Twitter, we all knew there was going to be violence on January 6th. And I remember seeing on Twitter, everybody saying, don't go to Washington January 6th. It's a setup.
Right.
And they were right.
Don't do it.
1,000% right.
I have a friend who lives in Washington,
Why isn't the FBI doing something about that?
Well, okay, so along those lines, right, you have that the FBI knew and didn't do anything. And then you also find out that between the FBI and the Secret Service, I don't know if you saw that memo, they had a whole nest of Trumpers in there.
Supported the insurrectionists.
Right.
Wait, say that again, Karoli?
Well, Donna just said it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Donna, say it again.
There was another report that came out yesterday, and basically it said that, within the FBI and the Secret Service, 83% of them were on the side of the insurrectionists.
Right.
83%.
Yeah. So now you start thinking.
So now you start wondering what's going on when Vice President Harris gets stuck in a weird auto accident in a tunnel last week.
Right. And they had to change her cars.
Yeah, and the Secret Service does not tell them what really went on at first.
Right. Wait, that's the thing that's disturbing. So
okay, you guys, I've been in my own tunnel. I have been in a news sort of blackout since October 3rd.
And you're forgiven because the news moves so fast.
So, no, honestly, because of work, because I have been conference oriented until this past Tuesday, until 3 days ago. So what happened with Kamala Harris?
They hit. So here's what we know is that they hit the curb in her vehicle, and it caused the wheel to bend. This was last Thursday, I think, a week ago Thursday. So that it caused the wheel to bend, and so they pulled over and they had to switch her to a new vehicle, and because the one she was in wasn't okay. So then instead of actually telling the truth about what happened, instead they said that it was a mechanical failure.
Yeah, mechanical failure, not an accident by the driver in a tunnel where there weren't any other cars.
Because motorcades don't.
Right.
They shut off the traffic.
They clear the road for the president and the vice president.
Right.
So her motorcade was in a tunnel with no other traffic, and the car that had her in it ran up against a curb, crashed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's not
suspicious
at all.
No, not at all. And then to lie about it and say it was a mechanical problem. I mean, it was at best.
Did they lie to her? Or did
they lied to their boss?
They lied to their superiors what was going on.
And so then, obviously, because that lie had been told, that was what got out publicly, was that, there was a mechanical failure. So the vice president had to switch to a different vehicle and everything. And you don't feel like that is a terrible thing, because cars do break down and everything. And then when you hear actually what happened, you feel like something is not right.
Now, I'm really, really curious about, I'm sorry to fixate on the details. How did it come out that it was indeed a car, a crash?
Well, so, we have the new director of the Secret Service. for starters. And I think she's getting to the bottom of all this bullshit that's going on. And I
Which is
think it's
why there was a document dump for the January 6th committee, because the old
right,
regime was stonewalling them.
right. So, I mean, my explanation, for which I have no evidence that I can place in front of you, is that basically she demanded, I mean, I would think that an incident involving the vice president is something that would come to her attention. And I think she probably demanded it. And I think when she got the truth out, she put it out there.
Okay.
You know, that's what I think happened.
So it's not like there was an investigative reporter that got to the bottom of it and they were hiding.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, but there needs to be a fucking purge.
Yeah, you think?
You also remember that,
I mean, we've been saying that since the beginning.
There was a bomb at the DNC
where
when
Kamala Harris
the president was there.
Right. I mean, one of the things that we don't say very loudly or talk about much is the fact that for all of the freak out about the first Black president, there is an equal and maybe more intense freak out about the first female Black vice president.
Yeah, I mean, the nastiness directed at her, you know, in social media, you know, not just social, I mean, SNL, you know, joke about her, you know, not, you know, being invisible, not being effective, not doing any, well, you know what, you guys aren't covering what she's doing.
She's everywhere.
I mean, I just like to see, like, I get literally inundated with all the details of everything she's doing, and she is everywhere doing everything. She's doing everything from foreign policy to domestic policy. She's campaigning. She's convening.
She's meeting with attorney generals of the states to deal with the Roe reversal. She's dealing. I mean, she's dealing with domestic policy on the granular level to foreign policy on the global level. She is to trying to get to the root cause of immigration from the South. She's doing everything.
Yeah, exactly. So
hold on.
I mean,
Aliza has to make herself another drink.
And myself with my Kamala fan here for a second.
There you go. So
that pisses me off, man. But no, I thank you for taking the time out of the podcast to like fill me in on that little tidbit, because that just,
you know what, it went under the rug. You know, it just happened. It was a blip. It was a blip in this fire hose of stuff that just keeps on happening.
But that must be why Major Biden was trending.
Major Biden was trending because of the news of the Secret Service. Because you know, we all know now that
Biden was right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
Major Biden
was right, and he was unfairly punished. In my opinion,
the only people he was biting were Secret Service. You know,
maybe he knew what he was talking about. You know,
exactly.
Dogs are very good judge of character.
Intuitive. They're very intuitive, and you know, so it's not just, but also Christopher Wray is still. You know,
Christopher Wray has some splaining to do.
He has some splaining to do.
He needs to go.
He does need to go.
He needs to go. I mean, basically the leadership is reflected in the rank and file. It's not the other way around, right? So what he is, I mean, this memo was just really disturbing that I read. I mean, where there were like one retired guy they said had like the Facebook page full of Trump stuff, and that, I mean, there was just all this insubordination and everything else around Trump. And I thought, wow, the FBI needs to, I mean, Wray needs to go. The FBI needs to be purged too, apparently. And by the way, I mean, so the right wing is like freaking out over the search of Mar-a-Lago. Like the one thing the FBI has done, you know, and that was because he had.
That it was supposed to do.
Yeah, he had classified documents, which he's going to have to give back, and he's not going to get them back either, even if no matter how many times he says mine. But anyway,
well, I mean, it's
and
so
this is more stuff that came out, right?
Even Clarence Thomas voted.
I know.
To uphold the.
But wasn't there more that came out about was it Mar-a-Lago staffers or White House staffers that were told about?
A staffer who had been military and then worked in the Trump White House as a valet, moved with him to Mar-a-Lago. And
had these
after the
pallets
subpoena in June,
of boxes.
after the subpoena in June, Trump
Mhm.
personally ordered him to move these boxes out of the storage area and into his residence. And then Trump cherry-picked some of those documents and took them back and put them in his desk.
And I'll bet those are like the classified documents, some of them without folders.
That
Right.
were not in the folders, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like the
They
photos
still
of those.
exist.
I mean, they're literally that are wrapped in that blue plastic wrap. Those
Mhm.
photos are
Yeah.
really hit home. Those are those are hundreds of boxes.
Mhm.
It looks like the
I'm sure
pallets.
some of those are just, fake magazine covers he had made up, but
Yeah. But I mean, some of it, like the classified documents, when you hear them say 100 classified documents, you don't think 100 pieces of paper,
no, that's
because it's
No.
more like 10,000 pieces of paper.
right.
Yeah, a document is
Yeah.
could be 1,500 pages.
Easily.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you have to
But
wonder, I mean,
intelligence
for a guy who didn't read his daily briefings,
he
right?
sure knew
Why,
what to take.
right. Why did he take these
Because
documents, and what is he planning to do with them?
He knows what Putin wants to know. He knows what his handlers want to see.
Or Saudi
Exactly.
Arabia
Yeah.
wants to know,
Right.
or what
Right.
what Jared tells him to look for.
Yeah.
What he can follow those
Yeah.
rudimentary
Jared's the one who
instructions.
read all those presidential daily briefings.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, Jared can say, okay, look for the ones with these markings on them, and he can follow those rudimentary instructions.
Maybe.
Easily.
I
Well,
mean,
Jared could.
I think he can follow a fourth grader's, level of instruction when it comes to pulling these things out that have these initials on them or that marking on them. Doesn't mean he read them. It just means
And
this is
it's
something
just
that
so
Putin
amazing
wants,
to
or
me
this is
that he
something
goes
that
out.
Bin Salman wants, or this is something that we can use to get me $2 billion if I want it.
Right. And it's so amazing to me that Trump goes to these rallies and basically admits to all of this, right? And then stomps his feet and says, "But they're mine. They're not his. I mean, they're not his." He can say all day long that they're his, but they're not his. They're ours.
So, like, logistically, I have some questions about how purges might work of the, we say the Secret Service needs to be purged, and we say the FBI needs to be purged. And in my head and at my very low level understanding of how these things work, like, I would imagine that purging the Secret Service would be slightly easier logistically, and bringing in new Secret Service would be somewhat easier than purging the FBI.
I don't think any of it would be easy.
I'm not saying any of it's easy, but I'm saying in terms of
because
what,
where you're recruiting
logistically,
from.
what their duties are.
I mean, you recruit these people from law enforcement in the military, and
that's the problem.
I know that's the problem. That's not what I'm saying, though. What I'm saying, though, is the duties involved with a Secret Service agent are really different than the duties involved with an FBI agent.
It's true.
Yeah.
And like an FBI agent has in-depth knowledge of cases that if we were to purge the FBI,
we're not going to be able.
We would be losing.
The brain drain would be impossible.
The FBI is not just what we understand the presidential connection to be. Am I making any sense at all?
No.
I just feel like I don't know how we would accomplish purging the FBI.
We can't.
I don't know. I don't think we could. I mean, I think we'd all like to have that happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. So then you have to rely on the fact that they are somewhat bound by the rule of law. And for the most part, I do think the FBI does adhere to that. Where I see the problem is in the leaks. So we had the leak about Hillary back in 2016.
Yeah.
And then we had a similar leak just recently, right? From that probably
Biden.
came,
The Hunter
yeah,
Biden.
I get the Hunter Biden thing, right? Which came, out of right-wing fantasy land.
What about what
Oh,
Joe Biden
so
said about the
no, the leak.
Washington Post last week.
Yeah.
okay, again, if it happened last week,
They heard
oblivious.
from FBI sources that there's enough to charge Hunter on.
Hunter Biden. So,
I don't buy that.
Right. But I mean, whether
FBI
there is or there isn't, it came from the FBI and it was a leak and it was meant to gin up Fox News right in the middle of the midterms and, get that going. And so
Biden's the new caravan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not like they've abandoned the caravan thing.
No.
They've got that going too.
Yeah.
And then, the latest thing is John Fetterman and, him having a stroke. And that's not just Fox News even. That's NBC and everybody else too. And I hate every single one of them for what they did. That was just, it was.
I'm not a Fetterman fan at all for reasons that have obviously absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he had a stroke. However, we need him in the Senate.
Yeah.
He's their nominee and we need him to win.
Yeah.
And his response to their ableism and their disgusting use of his using visual aids and to understand and difficulty getting things out after, what is it, 2 months after he's had a stroke? What is it?
May.
It was in May. Okay, so 4 or 5 months after having a stroke is so, I mean, it's Trump level low.
Yeah.
But his response to that is that in January, it was so brilliant. He's like, in January, I'm going to be better. And Dr. Oz is still going to be a douche.
Yeah. A fraud.
He's still going to be a fraud.
Right.
Yeah.
What was really bad about it?
I mean, there's so much bad about it.
It's okay to report that he needs closed captioning to help because he's having trouble with the auditory cues. Okay. Why? He's having trouble processing that. Fine. But then when she says, yeah, I think he had some problems following the small talk conversation before, that's why he's using the closed captioning. He already told you, he's been transparent about this,
The whole thing is just, and then it goes from that to people saying, well, if Fetterman can't, understand what he's hearing, how can he possibly be a senator? And it was at that point that I really lost my shit because it was just, I mean, I can.
So no deaf people can be senators?
I can type. I can't do both. If I talk, I won't be able to type for a while because my brain wires for talking.
No one can talk and type.
No one. I can't. If we ended this now and I went to sit and type, I wouldn't be able to do it for a while because right now the wires are wired for talking. And then if I type, I don't talk, I mean, what I'm saying is you get one or you get the other with me, and it doesn't make me any less effective at what I do. It just means that I have to do it this way. And it was so
in fact, you are very good at what you do. When you are not here with us on this podcast, we miss the depth of your knowledge and how quickly
we devolve into babushkas, me and Donna.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. But I mean,
we go back to the settle, me and Donna, when you're not here.
True.
I really, really want everybody who watches this podcast to know how annoying it is and how offensive it is for these mainstream media people to be out there making all these assumptions about what he can and can't do and what his cognitive abilities are and are not. He had a stroke. He's overcoming it. One of the wonderful things about the brain is that it can rewire itself to do the same things in different ways. So the fact that he has to use closed captioning right now, so what? So the fuck what? I mean,
Yeah.
how is that any different than media personalities using a teleprompter?
It isn't.
Yeah.
And that's why, Donna, that's why I said, it's okay for them to, you were like, it's okay for them to report on it, or, why? How is it even relevant to his ability to be a senator?
It is.
How is somebody's, need to walk with a cane relevant
But
to their
we
ability?
appreciate
How is
transparency.
somebody's, these are not things that impact their ability to do their jobs.
No, and if they had just said he's using the closed captioning, he is recovering from the strokes. Everybody, it was very public. He had the stroke. He had to stay off the campaign trail while he was recovering at first.
Recovering,
And
which is why healthcare is important, by the way.
So
Yes.
he's using these tools.
And family
That's
leave.
transparency. That's fine. But the way they framed it, the way they cut that interview, the way they presented it to the public, the thing is that Fetterman has been so ahead of Oz in the polls, and there's nothing they hate more than the Democrats winning by a landslide, right? So they got to eat it.
When
They
Democrats
got to make a horse race out of it. Got to
Yes.
give Oz some. So, and this comes on the news that Oz is being a fraud in a bunch of different ways, and so and yet what they're focused on is Fetterman's stroke and how he's learning to overcome the I don't want to call them disabilities, the challenges that come with having to overcome it. So I'm here to say, you go, John Fetterman. I mean, just.
This is his recovery. He's running while he's at the same time he's recovering.
Exactly.
And if anything, this is exhibit A for why family leave is critical, why access to healthcare is critical, why accessibility aids are critical. Why this is the perfect example of why these things are critical, so that people can do their jobs to the best of their ability,
and why they must
be at the end. And if people are, if, for example, it takes him longer to respond to a question because he's using closed captioning and he has to read the question all the way before he has to answer, then explain that in a way that's not judgmental or, framed as a pejorative. For, just say, explain to your audience, if it seems like he's taking him a long time, it's only because he's, he needs to read the, it's just like you would if you were having, a deaf person or signing or whatever.
Well, the thing is, he doesn't take a long time. So he was on Lawrence O'Donnell that night.
I'm just like giving examples. Yeah.
It's just that you see his eyes looking down at the screen. You can see that he's reading.
So
but
he's
reading as fast.
If it looks like he's not making eye contact, it's because he's reading the teleprompter. If you want to explain what seems a little bit different about the way he is now than the way he was before, say because he is reading, in addition, just explain it.
Yeah.
This is,
and then leave it at that.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
This is what some people need.
I think about the fact that Oz basically belittled him. I mean, one of the most powerful messages he's got actually is that, how does a doctor ridicule somebody for being sick, right? I mean, like, how does that happen?
Karoli, how often does that happen?
I don't know. That's a great question. But, I don't even want to think about that. But, I mean, this guy is running for office. And we should probably add to that there was an article in the New York Times about Medicare Advantage and the fraud associated with Medicare Advantage.
Yeah,
and
I wanted to read that.
It's pretty shocking. I mean, they're basically
the insurance companies are
even Kaiser.
All of them are cheating the government. Basically,
right? They're padding
Medicare Advantage and all the other supplemental insurance companies. They're all cheating the government.
Right. But Medicare Advantage specifically is what they were looking at. And
Mhm.
they were looking at like how they pad their billings to make people look sicker than they were so that they get more money, those kinds of things. And none of it good. But I'm here to tell you we can fix that stuff. But what Dr. Mehmet Oz wants to do is kill Medicare altogether.
Right.
So he's a stalking horse. He, as a doctor, is a stalking horse to kill Medicare. So, yet another reason not to want to vote for him, in addition to all the others.
Well,
He
you
doesn't
can
want to
give
get
that
paid
to
the
the
lower
entire.
premiums. He doesn't want to get paid Medicare rates. That's why he
No.
wants to kill Medicare.
But this
Well, that's
is
why
what
the AMA didn't want
right.
Medicare in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's why they didn't want the Affordable Care Act. I mean, it was the
Right.
same reason. They didn't want that either for the same reason. And so here we are. And I have 10 months to Medicare and I'm counting all of them like in days now, right? And they're talking about getting rid of it after. I mean, think about this. First, we have sort of criminals padding bills and stuff, and this goes to the level of the doctors, by the way, but even though they were instructed, I guess,
Right.
in some
By the
cases
insurance companies.
by the insurance companies and everything. So we have that going on, and in order to satisfy the doctor's desire not to have their rates pushed down, right? And this is the only country where this happens because because we have the most fucked up healthcare system
There are
ever.
so many reasons why it happens. One of the reasons it happens is advertising.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Drug advertising.
No other developed country.
I mean, you have to have
Allows these-
entire departments in doctors' offices whose only job is to process the insurance. And even that is a nightmare for them, even though that's the only thing they're doing.
The only thing
Right.
they do.
It's so difficult. Having now been prescribed a very expensive drug, getting my expensive prescription refilled was a nightmare.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. And
sure
I have a
was.
friend who was prescribed that same drug, and she put something on Facebook saying, "Hey, have any of you guys gotten your prescriptions from Canada?" She's looking for ways, to get it, the same, it's a third of the cost if you get it from Canada.
Right.
And,
But yet the
when people from
Republicans
Europe
never
come
want
here,
us to negotiate prices.
yes, every single Republican voted against.
Yeah.
Every single Republican voted against capping insulin at $35 a month. They voted against, help me, the liquor's getting in my head.
They voted
just
against capping. Well, there was drug negotiations more
Right.
generally.
Right.
There, and there was
And capping your expenses at
capping your
$2,000
expenses
a year.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
your yearly expenses. So every single Republican voted against that.
Of course they did. And yet, if we're to believe the polls, all of these races are terribly close.
They're terribly
close. Don't, this is my biannual, oh my God, I'm terrified period. We're 3 weeks out.
I hear you.
And, how can Ron Johnson be 6 points above Mandela Barnes? How can that be? How can that traitorous Russian asset who everything he says
Mandela Barnes is
idiocy.
He's black. That's how.
He's not one of us in Wisconsin.
That's why he's in Wisconsin, and
he won as lieutenant governor.
Well, lieutenant governor compared to senator, I mean, there's two different things going on there. He may not be down 6 points. But the poll that actually reported that is pretty reliable. I mean, there one
was that Marquette or what was?
Yeah, it was Marquette. Yes.
Yeah, and that's not a rinky-dink poll.
No,
right. So
it's upsetting. It's upsetting. And the same thing with Sherry Beasley. And all these polls are
Now Demings
close.
Marco Rubio canceled his debate with Val Demings.
Warnock and Herschel Walker. Herschel
Yeah.
Walker is.
Well,
Oh, they
is
have a debate tonight, by the way,
shocking
guys.
that he is.
Yeah.
You know, as long as they can, as long as Republicans can find a white face, a black face to put on white supremacy, they don't
Right.
care what he does.
Especially
Right.
if he's as dumb as Tommy Tuberville. You know,
Exactly. And he, you know, like they have,
Yeah.
they are right out there saying, I don't care if he aborts baby eagles, he's our man.
Yeah, well,
Little
that's the,
Dana.
I mean,
I
they've
know
literally said
Dana
this.
really
Little
gave that one
Dana.
away, didn't she?
Dana Loesch, your friend's Dana.
Not my friend.
Not our
No,
friend.
but I mean, you know, from a million years ago.
I know, but yeah, no. It's but so we always expected though that these races were going to come closer as we got closer to the midterms because Republicans come home. They always come home. This is a thing. I mean, they say it's better to vote for a bad Republican than a Democrat, and that's what they drill into their people. So the turnout is key because these polls are all likely voter polls, and they're based upon midterm likely voter models. So I see some room for hope because I know for a fact that they did a poll of Gen X and Gen Z, and that more, you know, those are almost, I'm pretty convinced they are being undercounted in these polls.
Yeah.
And I believe that they'll come out for, you know, climate and all the rest of it. Biden's on the campaign trail now. That's where, you know, he's out. He's in California. We never have presidents visit California. What?
He was in LA yesterday with Karen Bass.
Yeah, for Karen Bass.
Buying tacos. And there was that, I forget who it was, a right-wing guy who was complaining that it cost him $28 to buy to get a meal at Taco Bell. And everybody's going, what?
What? How is it $28?
How could anybody spend $28 at Taco Bell?
On one person?
I want to know that.
Yeah.
On one
I was going to
person.
say, how many tacos did he buy?
So anyway, Joe Biden goes to, you know, like a good taco. We've got really good tacos.
He went to, you don't go to Taco Bell when you're in LA.
No.
And he spent, and his order came to $14. And he gave them, he actually had money, which is unusual for a president.
He's an old man. He carries cash. It's
he had $60. He gave them $60 and said, you know, pay for the next guy's meal, you know. And he didn't even keep the tacos. He gave them to Karen Bass to give to her people. So
that's a Joe thing. Like he goes to an ice cream stand and he buys ice cream for all the kids.
But he didn't get ice cream out here. I couldn't believe that he didn't go get ice cream while I was out here.
We're not known for our ice cream. We're known for our tacos.
No, but there's good ice cream out here too. Yeah, we do it. It's good too.
We do have good ice cream, but you know, that's not what we're known for.
Who cares? He loves ice cream. All right. Well, whatever.
But, you know, I guess if we're going to talk about Los Angeles politics, we need to mention the city council meeting that put Los Angeles on the map this week. It actually wasn't the meeting. It was a leaked tape over the weekend.
It was
heard some of our elected Latino council people, including the council president and the head of the Labor Federation, discussing
former
now, but discussing the recent, you know, process with redistricting and pitting communities of color against one another. Basically, they were thinking what they could do to gerrymander their districts to keep the power within the Latino neighborhoods at the expense of the Black neighborhoods. And they said disparaging things about Black people, gay people, Councilman Mike Bonin's Black
adopted son,
only 2 years old, Jews, Armenians.
How old? I'm sorry.
2.
4. Oh, he's 2.
At the time that they were talking about how the council people were on a float in a parade, and that the 2-year-old wasn't behaving, and so she called him a monkey. Said that he needed to be smacked down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And a 2-year-old.
I didn't
It
hear
was
that
bad.
2-year-old.
It was bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it
was
was really, it was just,
awful.
there's nothing that you could possibly say to defend it. And even no matter how much she apologized, it was just like, these guys got to go. And one of them that was in the room was Kevin De Leon,
Right.
who ran against Dianne Feinstein.
Really?
And he was participant in this conversation. He's got to go. I mean,
He's got to go.
so
He has not stepped down yet.
you're right. He's still there.
I'm shocked.
I would have never guessed that he would be that way, but he was, and it's on the tape. And so
Okay.
I mean, they all have to go. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Right. So
And so she's
gone.
Yeah, she's gone.
She's gone. First, she just stepped down as council president, but that wasn't enough. So she's
gone. Yeah.
She's
but
gone.
Who else has anybody else resigned? Or
so head of the Labor Federation, he resigned.
But, right. And then Gil Cedillo is gone. He's gone as of December anyway. So
the only one left is De Leon. But at the same time, the California Attorney General now is looking into the redistricting process. So we may get those districts redrawn again. Probably.
But didn't Biden weigh in? Didn't he say they should all step down? Didn't he say?
Yep, he did.
Yep.
Good for him.
Yep.
Yeah. So all the times on this podcast that I've said Kevin De Leon is not an asshole, I retract that statement.
How do you know? How do you know until you find out? Once you
public,
know better,
his public policies.
Once you know.
I think it's probably safe to assume that all politicians in private have their we all have our asshole moments, but politicians probably are more asshole than the rest of us.
But this is not
this wasn't right. This is like racism. I mean, it was just out and out, really awful racism that I would like to have thought didn't exist. I mean, there's always been tension between Latinos and Blacks in LA. That's no secret. We all know that, but the idea here is to build bridges, not to divide more.
And so there was a city council meeting after this came out, and someone I know who was watching it on Spectrum One was carrying it, and someone I know was telling me that she was surprised at how really intersectional the discussion was. That the people who came out, the citizens who came out, are there to we know that we are better when we work together, and so trying to heal it's not going to be impossible to heal the communities.
Sure.
But
so what's the process now? If there's no functional city council, what happens between now and November? Is there
they had to cancel yesterday's meeting because
and then are there all of a sudden new people on the ballot, or what's going to happen in LA?
No, there's going to have to be another election. There's a caretaker in Martinez's district.
Right.
A bureaucratic caretaker, just to make sure that all of the administrative things can get done.
Right.
Yeah.
Constituent service and all that.
Council president who is, running for re-election is probably going to lose. So it's a mess. It's a mess.
But at least, Karoli says there has always been.
Is not in danger. There's going to be continuity in my district.
At least that
he wasn't involved.
Yeah. Well,
there's always been colorism. There's always been tension between the Hispanic community and the Black community, and
and it was against the Jewish community and the Armenian community too.
I missed that. I didn't know that part.
Yeah. I mean, it was a whole spectrum.
They really hit the trifecta. They filled the whole bingo card.
They had something to insult and offend just about everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, what a mess. I'm glad it came out actually.
Yeah,
and
we still don't know who taped it and leaked it.
So Biden was out here for Karen Bass, and the LA Times endorsed Karen Bass this
Yes.
week. And one of the reasons that they endorsed her was because they see her as being the bridge that could probably bring people back together and start to put the city government back together
She's
after
running for
this.
mayor, right? Help
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
She's okay.
Yeah,
right.
she is.
She's a
Mhm.
congresswoman running for mayor.
No, I know she's
Yeah.
a congresswoman now, but she's running for mayor. And how is that race
Mhm.
looking?
She's
I
still
like
ahead.
Karen Bass.
She leads that.
She's
Yeah.
still ahead. Rick
Okay.
Caruso is still, you know, his advertisements are everywhere, but it's not as bad as it was during the primary. Last night, for the first time, I saw a Rick Caruso ad where he explains why he is now a proud Democrat. And I thought that was interesting. As you may know, I was a Republican, but then, you know, the values of this party changed. I was never about, you know, what's going on in the party now. And
Okay.
he claims to always be pro-choice, even though we know he gave to
Okay. Yeah. Has he
Yeah.
met the Republican
it's a
Party?
very interesting ad to hear him talk about his democratic values and why he's proud to be a Democrat now.
That's
Well, you should
interesting.
see the Republican that's running against Julia Brownley out here is the same way. You know, I'm a Republican, but I'm not that kind of Republican.
All are.
Listen, you know what? The Republican Party has so many leaks in their boat. They are
I
just
know.
like, I mean, for real. But like, I would be sorry to lose her in the House. I mean, I'm just. Although, I
Karen
mean, I hope
Bass.
I'm assuming her district is safe.
Oh, yeah.
Safe with
Oh yeah,
Democrats.
no, it's
Yeah.
safe. Yeah,
It's a
it's
safe
not
zone.
going anywhere.
Well,
So
Katie Porter, who Biden is campaigning with today, she's the one
right.
that
She,
we're worried about because
that we're worried
redistricting has put her in.
Yeah, 'cause she's Orange County, or where is
Yeah.
she?
Orange
She's
County.
she's in Orange County, but she's got Huntington Beach in her district now.
Right.
which is very wacky.
Yeah, it's
That's a
lots
good
of
way to
neo-Nazis in
Yeah.
Huntington Beach. Yeah.
I was being generous.
Thank you.
You know?
So yeah, that's a
Yeah,
pain,
California politics are, something.
well, and the thing that worries me is that we have I mean, this is a majority Democratic state. It's not a one-party state, but it is close.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to see the Democrats get corrupt. I don't want to see what happens in Republican states happen in California. I just don't.
Right.
So that's why I'm actually really glad that all of this came out
Sure.
in LA, and let's just purge it out. And and as Karine Jean-Pierre said earlier this week, the difference is when Democrats have these things happen, they don't embrace them, right? They deal with it and they get rid of it. They
them.
fix it, and everything.
Yeah.
We don't just sit there and
We don't cheer.
justify it.
We don't double
We
down.
don't elevate them.
Right.
You
Right. Exactly.
We don't give them Supreme Court positions.
Right. That.
We don't place them on the bench. I mean, it's just like, I did see that. And you know what? I don't think Karine Jean-Pierre is getting the flowers that she deserves.
She's not. For the same reason that Kamala Harris isn't getting the attention she deserves.
Yeah, I mean, like, Jen Psaki rightly was just feted as a genius, a genius press secretary, and she was. There was nobody like her before, and there will be nobody. It's
always going to be a tough act to follow.
It is a tough act to follow.
But Karine Jean-Pierre, from what I have, from the little I've seen,
yeah,
is really, it is beyond solid. She is really like holding her own, and she's got her own style, which is really she's nobody to mess with.
No. Agree.
And she knows her stuff, and I just feel like I feel a little bit bad that I got this new job that I got kind of right when Karine Jean-Pierre took over. So like, it feels like at Crooks and Liars, like part of my beat at Crooks and Liars was Jen Psaki. And I feel like I really want to anyway. I love Karine Jean-Pierre. That's all. I just want to give her some flowers.
We have good news though this week.
We do.
Right?
news. There's a little
There,
bit of a, are you talking about the SUBPOENA?
Well, I know we talked about that pretty much already, didn't
I
we? But
think
no, I
she's
was thinking about,
talking about that POS,
all
Alex.
right, Jones.
That's good news.
Yeah, that's big good news.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, if you combine the $925 million that he now owes the Sandy Hook's family, the Sandy
More than
Hook's
that, 65,
families.
I think. I think 965,000.
Oh,
It's
you're right.
$965
You're right. It was
million
960.
to the
Million, excuse me.
Sandy Hook families, and then the $45 million award to the previous family.
He's over $1 billion.
And there's still
Alex
one
Jones will
more
be.
file to go.
Yeah.
And
One more time.
he says he doesn't have that kind of money, but it doesn't matter
Boo-hoo.
because, everything's going to get garnished,
Yeah.
He's
And
not
you know
gonna
what?
be able to do anything.
He is pretty damn close. I mean, I'm not convinced he didn't, offshore his money somewhere.
Well, I'm sure. He's
I'm
got
sure he
$100
has.
million, but
He's
But
got
they're gonna
hundreds
go-
of millions of dollars somewhere.
I don't
They'll
think
go after it. They'll go after it.
We'll go after it. So, I mean,
and
he's
it-
never going to have any peace,
No.
and that's what he deserves.
And the other good news, I think, that we
Suspicious
have
stuff.
is that Tulsi Gabbard left the Democratic Party.
I forgot all about that.
As if she was ever a part of it. This is personal for Karoli and me.
It is personal for us. It's
Personal.
like she came on our show and she told us, gave us a ration of shit about how she was such a good Democrat and how she was so progressive and blah, 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 blah. And
This is before my time, clearly.
This was before
This
your
was-
time.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. 2010, was it? Was it 2010?
Yeah. It
Way
was
before my
2010.
time.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think so. It was for the 2012 race.
2012.
So
Okay.
yeah. So
And
yeah.
was she convincing?
Emily's list candidate. We were so happy to
Oh, that's right. She was Emily's list. That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she said,
So
all
pro-choice, so
things,
democratic.
And I've got this military background.
Because of her military background, right? Because of her service and
Yeah.
So the
dear.
first thing she does, this is so bizarre to me. She announces that she's leaving the Democratic Party for reasons that are stupid, that they're Fox News audition. Okay, but she should leave the Democratic Party because she's never been a Democrat.
yeah.
Anyway, she announces this, and then the next day does a campaign event with the guy in New Hampshire, Don Bolduc.
Right.
Who's literally like a Nazi. I mean, the guy is a fucking nightmare. And she's out there campaigning with him. Like, she couldn't have picked even, I think he may be worse in some ways than Herschel Walker. Just one example.
Mastriano.
Yeah. Well, he's up there with Mastriano, right? But
What's his
I
name?
mean, just one example of this, Don
Bolduc.
Bolduc, is that he says that women, I have to go look it up now, but basically women should let gentlemen make all the decisions.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's the
How do you spell Bulldog?
BOLDUC.
Right.
And I'm going to go find that article
find
right
that
now.
quote.
I'm
Real
finding
quick,
it
we
now.
have like a minute and a half.
I'll do it. I'm going to do it. You guys talk. I'm going to find it.
I'm finding it.
Okay, so I finished Bad Sisters last night. Awesome.
My
You guys
sister wants me to watch that.
You guys
Okay.
have to watch it.
Okay, I have it. It is abortion decisions belong to gentlemen in the state legislature. That's the best way, I think, as a man, that women get the best voice. No, seriously, that's what he said.
Women
Okay.
get the best voice through her
You
men.
guys vote.
On
Can I just
abortion.
say that I'm watching The Patient and I love it?
I've heard that's
Okay.
good.
So good.
I'll have to
So
look
good.
that one up. All right, you
Hulu, I
guys.
think.
We're 3 weeks out. Get your votes. Get your votes.
Sign up to drive people, help other people get out the vote.
Yeah, write your
Do your part,
postcards.
people, write your
Whatever
postcards.
needs to be done. I did 100 postcards for Christy Smith in the last week. I still have
Oh,
50
wow.
to put out.
Pray for Christy Smith.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
There's running the most vile ads against her ever. Okay, that's all I have to say. Whoa. Okay.
My husband. All right. On that note, that's our show for the week. Join us next week at momocrats.buzzsprout.com, our YouTube channel, or find us on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. This is Donna Schwartz Mills, Karoli, and Aliza Worthington saying goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
MOMocrats, Mama Chats, part of the Demcast family of podcasts.